If you over-explain, apologize, or prioritize everyone else's needs over your own, that might feel like kindness, but it's deeply ingrained survival mechanism that keeps you in a cycle of exhaustion and resentment. Let's chat about it right now. Check it out. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Positivity Experience. It's your girl, Lori, and tomorrow is my birthday. Yes, I'm excited. I turned 54 and happy to be around the sun another year. But yes, and this is a great topic because it's something that, I think at some point, anytime you've gone through levels of trauma, there's always a certain level of it, but we're going to get into it and it's going to get kind of deep because it's also going to talk about the fact that people pleasing is also manipulation. So I can't wait to get into that. Over on Patreon, I have a really good worksheet to go along with this. It helps you understand your why you do it, and how to actually break free from it because it becomes an ingrained habit. So I'd encourage you to go on over there. It's patreon.com/the positivity experience. It really does help, and you're able to access all of the worksheets prior, and all of the worksheets will complement the episode that we do, so you know where to start, how to incorporate it. So if that's your jam, pop on over there. So yes. So as I was saying, people go into the martyrdom or the kindness, right? You mistake kindness, people pleasing for kindness. Now we're going to go into why it happens, how it's manipulation, and we're going to walk through it. Okay. Now this is what I'm going to tell you. You need to know about yourself, right? We all need to know about ourselves, because if you don't, you're going to constantly blame other people. You're going to constantly live in the trauma, and you're going to convince yourself that by people pleasing, you're doing something good. But you have to remember that was a survival, right? So that is also going to breed exhaustion, resentment, emotional manipulation, because it will. And you may not even realize it. I'm not saying you're sitting in a corner somewhere saying, I'm going to be manipulative. No. Because a lot of manipulation is done, again, out of some level of survival. So we're going to go through that because, I want to talk to you about the psychology of it and the nervous system and the fawn response and why we do it. Because I always like to give you the why this happens. And then, hey, I am going to check you on a few things, because it isn't just about the why. It's about where you are now and how it's creating problems. Because I'm going to tell you right now, people pleasing down the road is going to cause so many problems for you, especially from a resentment space. And I tell you, it can be very problematic in relationships, and you're going to hold a lot of animosity, and you're going to really neglect yourself, right? Because when you're walking around trying to make everybody else happy, and let's start by saying that's impossible. And it doesn't matter if they're happy with your authenticity, because it's not for their approval. That's the problem. Right there is you're looking for an approval for someone to say, you know what, you're valuable because I like you. Well, you know what? Screw that. Because if I have to bend over backwards and not be authentic, and I got to worry about walking on eggshells and the things that you're doing, and if I have to worry about that, is that really a relationship that I want to carry? So in the psychology of people pleasing, right, you do it because of childhood rejection and emotional conditioning. All right. So let's just think about that. When you're born, I've told you this before. When you're born, you might not have even been on the planet 30 seconds. You're given a name, possibly even before you're born. You're given a name, you're given a political and a religious affiliation, how we do things around the house, and expectations. And you've been on this planet for 30 seconds. So you already have these expectations put on you, how we do things put on you, the insecurities of others. Because remember, we're only going to grow in our life, like in our childhood life, by the level that the people are who are raising us, they're healing. Now, this isn't to permiss it, but you got to understand, people are going to do the best they can with what they have. And if they're not working on themselves, how the hell are they going to give you some, hey, this is coping skills? They don't even know coping skills. They don't. So you're walking around and you're trying to figure out life, and you can't even feed yourself or change yourself. And now all of these things are coming up. So when you, and we're going to go a little bit more in detail in this, but there is a psychology behind it. So you're people pleasing, which we know is, like I said, is a survival mechanism. And you're doing it because you may have felt something from emotional conditioning. And I'll tell you what that is. And I also want to go into right now the nervous system from the fauna response. So keep in mind, everything's connected. Mind, body, spirit is what I like to focus on here. And, that's another thing. I don't mind talking about relationships with other people. I mean, that's essentially what I'm doing. But when it comes to like love relationships, and I will put a few episodes in on different things, I solely really like to focus on you because it does start with you. Healthy relationships start with you. Boundaries start with you. It's not about other people. So I like to give you a good foundation so then you can go on. And then when you're interacting with other people, especially from an intimate place, now we're in a different place, right? So it's going to help you. So there's 4 trauma responses: fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Now I've done this on some short form. So before I go into this, I'm going to give you an idea. Now, most of us know what they are, but we're going to use the bear analogy. I use the bear analogy. It's my little thing. So we're going to put you in the middle of the woods, and I'm going to give you each one of these so you can understand your responses here. Okay. So let's start with fight. So bears come into you and you're like, oh, come on, bear. Come on. I'm going to throw down. I am going to kick your ass. Right? That's your fight response. So how does that look in real life? You're defensive. You always want the last word. You don't want to be wrong about anything. You're worried about how everybody else feels, and you're putting on your armor every morning and you're ready. You're not going to let anybody get over on you. That's your fight response. Now your flight response. Here comes this bear. And you're like, holy shit, that's a bear. I am out. I am done. I'm gone. Okay. How does that look in real life? Avoiding confrontation and conflict. You're avoiding anything that seems uncomfortable or scary. That's your flight, right? Fawn, right? Freeze. Let's do freeze. So here comes the bear. And now you're like, what the hell do I do here? I have zero idea what to do. You feel paralyzed in that moment. These are in real life. That's where you can't make decisions. You are always second guessing yourself. There's so much to do. You just freeze. You just don't do it. That's your freeze response. Now your fawn response, which is where we are here. Now the bear is coming towards you and you're like, hi, Mr. Bear. Hey, what do you need? Like, please don't eat me. You know what? I will even run down and I will get you whatever it is that you need from the water. Like, what do you need from me? I will do whatever you want. So obviously in real life, you're always going to find that in the fact that you're trying to constantly please everybody. And that isn't going to be in your favor. It's not possible. So that's your fight, flight, freeze, fawn. So, and you can have more than one, but that's in attachments too, right? So we go into anxious attachments, avoidant attachments, disorganized attachments, right? And then of course, secure attachment, where I'm finally there and I love to try to get you there. Listen, I do that with my clients. And someone did ask me, just a side note, how, again, it's like, I feel like I got to say it every episode because it's new people. But if you do want to book a session with me, you can do it directly on my website. And that is in my, it's in the show notes, but it's the Positivity Experience with an X. Just wanted to put that in there because I was thinking about attachments and I was just working with a new client on attachments. So that's why it jumped in my head. So when you are in that, you have to remember that the fawn response is a learned response by trying to make people happy. Okay, so here's an example of that. Okay, so standing up for yourself, that led to punishment. Punishment, withdrawal, compliance, safety. So you're safe prioritizing other people's comfortability and comfort at the sacrifice of your own. Because at that point, you don't even really know what that looks like for yourself. So you're relying upon everybody else. And you know that if you voice it or you stand up for yourself, that it's met with punishment. And again, withdrawal, passive aggression, all of these things. So of course, it is a learned response that you're like, oh shit, I don't want to deal with that, man. I don't want anybody to be mad at me. And I really don't like the repercussions. So I need to make sure that they're okay. So now you can see where that is. Secondary part of that is your fear of rejection and abandonment. And I am so pleased to know that I'm on the other side of that. But it took me years. Years. And quite honestly, I still do my daily practice. I do all of my 5 journals. I do the things. I remind myself of things. I do my affirmations, my gratitude journaling, because you're still going to have to do that, right? This isn't a destination. This will always be a lifelong journey. So when you focus on the fear of rejection, You got to remember how the brain is wired, right? So we have a survival brain, how our brain has, kind of evolved, but we still have our critter brain, how people do things, just how it's there. And it's wired for any type of social belonging. Okay. So that means no feel of threat to survival. You don't want that because you want to be included. Now, you also have to remember that need to be included can be extremely problematic because now you're like, I got to make everybody happy. So now you're going into people pleasing. Trust me, we're going to get to the resentment here in a moment. It's not always abandonment, right? If somebody ghosts you, here's an example. Somebody ghosts you, they are doing you the biggest favor. They really are doing you a solid because that demonstrates that they do not have the capacity to carry on a conversation or face things head on. They don't know how to do that, or they don't want to do that. So for you, it might seem like abandonment, but what you got to realize is your mindset has to switch on that. Just because people aren't in your life or they were in your life and they leave, that has nothing to do with your value. Nothing. But as a kid, you don't realize that. So in your childhood experiences, if you had an emotionally unavailable parent or caregiver, which means love was earned, right? So you had to earn love, and that was earned through people pleasing and trying to meet their expectations. Now, this creates a pattern of seeking approval to avoid pain and rejection. So think of it like this. And believe me, this is where perfectionism stems too. But your parent wants you to have straight A's, whatever, okay? And you come home and you have a 94. And they go, yeah, this is cool, but why didn't you study harder? You'd have got 100. You're like, okay. Okay, well, now this goes into perfectionism, but it also goes into people pleasing. You're like, okay, well, now I don't like the disappointment. I hurt their feelings, or I didn't live up to their expectations. So now it's me. I'm the problem. So you go through and you're trying to figure out, okay, how can I do this? I don't want to mess this up. I want them to be happy, because if they're not, you're looking at it as rejection, because now you're already in attachment, right? So when you're in attachment that's not secure, you will always look at whatever that is as abandonment and rejection, and it's not. But that's what you're correlating it with. And of course, what does that go with? Low self-esteem. Right? When you're a people pleaser, you do not have high self-esteem. And I have a really good episode I did months ago on self-esteem. I would encourage you to go back to that. And don't worry, I'll do more like specific ones. You can only help somebody so much, so we got to hit it from different angles. But when you have low self-worth, you need external validation. So people pleasers tie self-worth to how other people see them. Yep. So if you see me as rude and selfish, that's bad. No, because you know what's going to happen? You're going to grow, you're going to set boundaries, and you will be considered rude and selfish. So you can't have it both ways, right? Like you can't say, I want to set this boundary, I want to do these things, but I don't want them to think I'm rude and selfish. That's where you know that you're not quite ready to set them, and that we still need to really work on the people pleasing, like big time. Because what you're doing is you're attaching your value to how somebody else sees you. Well, you know what? They can only see you through the lens in which they wear of how they see themselves. Really think about that, right? If they're insecure and they're trying to meet somebody else's needs themselves, here we go. Now we are going to look at you. Now we're going to say you're doing wrong. This is what I would do, so you need to do this, right? Because this creates a problem too. This is how I would do it. So this is how you must do it. And now as a people pleaser, because somebody said to you, well, I'm very disappointed that you didn't load the dishwasher the way I would. Well, now you're like, oh my God, like, what do I do? So you're constantly in that, but that will come from low self-esteem. So if you catch yourself in that, know where your esteem is. It's not a judgment, it's a fact. And then that's where you work on. And you're also going to see some people created it as this conditional love. And that's going back into the grading system, like I was saying to you. So if you're doing good, right, you made sure that you dotted the I's, you crossed the T's, you did everything that they wanted you to do, you're good. Oh my God, that was so great. I love you so much. You're so helpful. You heard this? You're so helpful. Now, this means that you believe that your worth is how much you do for others. Right? So this is going to lead to constantly overgiving, constantly over apologizing, and having a hard time with no. Okay, so really think about that, right? So somebody says, you're good, you're helpful. You're like, yay, they see value. This is a problem. This is where manipulation comes in that we're going to talk about next. And again, no one said it's intentional, but nonetheless, it's still manipulation. It's still emotional on your part, by the way. And we'll get there. Because when you're there and you hear good and helpful, that means that you're getting the accolades. And the moment somebody's disappointed in you, it's got to be a you problem. It can't be, in your mind, it can't be somebody else's expectations, somebody else's insecurity, somebody else's dislike of themselves, right? No, it's got to be you. You're the problem. It's you, right? And that's from the low self-esteem. So that's why when people give you conditional love, this is how all of that is bred. That's why it happens a lot in childhood. Right? And then you're over apologizing because you don't want them to you don't want to hurt their feelings. You have a hard time saying no because heaven forbid somebody gets annoyed with you. And this is a problem that you have when it comes to setting boundaries. Because don't think that somebody doesn't know that bothers you, right? Don't think people don't know your buttons. They definitely know your buttons. Oh, they definitely know your buttons. So they're going to do some passive aggression. They're going to hit. It's not always like, rah, rah, rah. It's not. Sometimes it's just like, oh, okay, well, all right. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't understand why you would say that. That's very hurtful. And not in a way that it's actually hurtful. It's in a way that they don't like these boundaries and they can no longer benefit from the person that you were when you didn't have the boundaries. So of course it's got to be you, right? So then they have to pull back and they have to hold you back. And that's where, if you're a people pleaser, you're going to fall right into that trap. Oh, you're going to walk right into it head first. Okay. Now, this is where over time, this is just an automatic habit. This is just how you do it. You just walk around and you don't even really think about it. Now, this is where it can be problematic for yourself because you're thinking, I'm just kind and I'm caring. Listen, you can be kind and caring and still have manipulative tendencies in people pleasing. No one's saying it can't be both. But it becomes an automatic thing. And quite frankly, going back to childhood, you can see that in a lot of like familial things where it's like, well, this is how we grew up, right? You're supposed to take care of the family. You're the glue to the family. You're the one responsible for this. This is how it's been generations before. So you're already given this and these expectations. And the moment you buck against that is the moment you tell yourself, oh God, I don't like them to not like me. And this is the deep part that you got to be clear on. And this is where you really got to ask yourself. And again, please book a session with me. We will go through this if this is where your problem is or issue, one of your many issues are. And that is, why are you holding on to relationships that are conditional in the aspect that you can't be yourself and be authentic, but because you don't want to be alone, you're holding on to a relationship or relationships for the sake of having relationships. And yes, this includes family. Often it's definitely family. So you need to ask yourself that. Because here's the thing. Why do you want to be a chameleon to other people around you and not know yourself? First of all, you're not going to be consistent with that anyway, because you're going to please this person this way and this person that way and this person likes this. And then the people you pleased yesterday, suddenly that doesn't please them anymore. So now they're pissed off. So now you're like, oh my God, what happened? So this is where all of that comes into play, but it becomes an automatic process. So when you start finding yourself going, oh my God, I'm resentful, I'm exhausted, then you know to look in the mirror and go, wait a minute, am I trying to make everybody happy? Right? It's not a negative. See, you got to know your why. The problem is so often you look at the why and then somehow or another blame yourself for being stupid, naive, whatever other adjective you want to put in there. But it's not true. See, when you know the why, then the actions after that, now again, you're going to have a reality check on this next section, but that's a good thing. Because if you're in control of it, that means you can change it. If you're not in control of it, that means everybody else has the power over you. So let's talk about how people pleasing is a form of manipulation. And this is where so many people go, oh my God, I'm not trying to be manipulative. Okay, listen, if you're not going to hear it for what it is, you're not going to heal, right? Because suddenly you don't like the fact that you get called to the carpet. That's a natural human trait, by the way. That's not abnormal or specific to you. People pleasers feel like the victims of others' demands. So this is a way of controlling the situation and perceptions. And here's how. because this is the important factor. A people pleaser is manipulating others into liking you. Okay? If you're trying to get someone into liking you, someone to like you, you are going to manipulate the situation so they like you. Let me give you an example of that. You have a friend, a lover, a whomever, and they love, again, I like to use the green M&Ms for whatever reason, but these special green M&Ms are only found in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay? And you live in Texas. They're only found in Atlanta, Georgia. You can't order them. You can't mail order them. Right? You can only get them on site in person. Okay. So now here you are, you're trying to be liked. Okay. And this isn't you being kind to be like, you know what? I'm going to go get them some M&Ms. That's great. You don't care. See, true kindness is they don't even need to say thank you. True kindness is I'm going to give you this. And if you take it and throw it out the window, I don't care. I'm doing it just to be kind. That's kindness. What's not kindness is going, okay, you know what? I want this person to like me, or I want them to see value. So I'm going to hop a plane, or I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to go get these and I'm going to surprise them with them. Sounds great on the surface, but you're doing that with an agenda. I mean, unless you're being totally kind, you're doing it with an agenda. You want to be like, oh my God, they see my value. They see how thoughtful I am. So they're going to want to be around me. That's manipulation. Again, I'm not saying you're sitting in the corner and you're trying to, take over the world with your evil plan. No. But nonetheless, you're doing that to try to get someone to like you. So then now you've gotten these M&Ms. And I mean, you're like, yes, oh my God, I cannot wait to give it to them. Woo, they're going to be so excited. So now you have this expectation. Now they get these M&Ms and they're like, oh my God, these are great. Oh my God, these are the ones you go to Atlanta for. Yeah, I went to Atlanta. Oh, that's great. Thank you. Okay, that's it. They say thank you. That's it. There's nothing changing. There's no change in the relationship. Nothing. Oh, you're not going to feel like, oh, that was fine. I did it. Again, unless you're in full kindness. So now you feel some kind of way because they weren't more appreciative. No, you did that to yourself. You did that to yourself with this expectation of thinking, if I do this, then they're going to like me. That is the definition of manipulation, when you're doing something to garner something. Okay. And again, kindness is different. Oh, I see. You went to Atlanta. You got those. Wow, that's great. Thanks. Oh, no problem. You're not attaching anything to it. No, you wanted to do it. You felt good. You just wanted to do it. You wanted to give without the agenda, because that's where the difference is. And people pleasers do struggle with that. So if you're always adjusting yourself to avoid conflict, here's another one. If you're always adjusting yourself to avoid conflict, seeking approvals to make others happy, like that example, you're trying to manage their perception of you rather than being authentic. Okay. So instead of you being authentic, because you know a person doesn't like A, B, C, D, F, G, so you're not going to be authentic. So now you're going to alter yourself. That's nothing but manipulation, because now you're trying to get them to like you, and you're morphing yourself. We do that a lot as teens. I think I've told you that. I mean, and you don't have to just be a teen, but in teenage years, you want to fit in, right? So whatever these friends or say, oh my God, I love this. All of a sudden you love that. All of a sudden you love everything everybody loves. Then you're like, yeah, I'm so agreeable. You're also not happy. You're trying so hard. It doesn't matter your age, but let's go in teenage years. You're trying so hard because that's the social sort of pecking order. So while there are, some concessions to make, you never make them from your authenticity. If you have to, and now here's the other problem. This can be the other problem. You don't know who the hell you are. So because you don't know who you are, now you're looking to other people to tell you who you are. So now you're willing to do whatever so they can tell you who you are, but you want to feel good about yourself, but you're only going to feel good about yourself if they say that they feel good about you. See how that all ties in? So the issue is sometimes you only know who your authentic self is, and you're afraid to explore it because they might leave. Bye. Then let them go. Your mom may never get on board with it. I understand you want it to be different, but that right there, if you're trying to make it different and now suddenly you're trying to over justify, you're over explaining, you're afraid of saying no. If that's where you are, that's going to be a constant cycle for you. So here's another. Instead of giving people the choice to accept you as you are, like here I am, you will shape, like I said, you will shape your personality. So it's not even your likes, also your personality, your interests, or whatever responses, just to go ahead and avoid the discomfort because you don't want somebody to feel some kind of way. So all of a sudden you like archery. Okay. Your friend's like, oh my God, I went into archery. Archery's great. Now listen, maybe you do like archery, but maybe you tried it and you hate it. And you're like, oh my God. And they're like, hey, do you want to go to archery? I think it'll be yes. Oh my God, I love archery. You don't love archery. You hate archery. You didn't like to go. You hated the whole experience. Now you've lied about it. Now you've said, sure, I'll go. Because apparently now you love it because you don't want to lose out on your friend time, right? Because now you have FOMO. Now you go and you're like, oh God, okay, I hate this. All right, I got to put on a smile. This is great. Maybe I'll get extra drinks, like whatever it is. But now you do garner some resentment with that and you're not happy. So now you're exhausted. So now you have to go out, like archery is your best thing you've ever done in your life and you hate it. And now you have to act accordingly. And that's going to get exhausting. It's going to get exhausting, right? So here's an example of that too. Saying, I don't mind, like when you actually do. Hey, do you mind if we do this instead? Oh, I don't mind. Now, sometimes you don't mind, but guess what? Sometimes you do. Sometimes you do. So if you're responding to it and you're saying, I don't mind, when you actually do just to keep the peace, it's manipulation. It's avoidance and manipulation because you don't want to deal with the conflict, right? So that's just it. That's fawn response right there. We know that. That's classic 101. Or saying, of course, oh my God, of course I'll help, when you feel overwhelmed and then resenting it later. So here's an example. So you come home from work, you worked all week and it has been so much. Well, prior to that, like you're getting ready to come home on Friday and your friend or whatever says, hey, you know what? Like it's not urgent, right? It's not like an emergency. And they're like, hey, I was hoping you could come over. You know, I know you're really good at measuring like centering paintings. And I have like 4 that I want to put up. I really want to get them up tomorrow. Do you mind coming over? No, I don't mind. Of course I will. Now, meanwhile, you're exhausted as hell. It's okay to say no. Nope, I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm staying in today. That's it. We don't need to give a thesis, right? So when you're resisting that, now you know that you don't want to be disliked. Now, on top of that, now you've gone over there. You didn't want to go. You've sacrificed your peace. There you are. Okay. 3-4 weeks from now. You go, hey, you know what? It's almost spring. I want to move some things. I want to move the wicker furniture outside. And I was hoping to get it done this weekend. Do you think you could come over on Saturday? And they go, no, I'm not feeling up to it. Now, there you sit going, look at this. Ain't this some shit? I was tired and I went over there. I did that for them. And you mean to tell me that, I sacrificed everything and now they can't do it for me? That's on you. That's not them. That's not them being not appreciative. That is you because you said, of course. And if you want to go, then do it. Do it because you're not trying to get somebody to like you. Do it, but know that they do not have to not reply. They do not have to reciprocate that. That's the difference. Now, if you want them to, you could say, hey, oh my God, I'm exhausted, but I'll come help you. But in like 2 weeks, I really need some help moving the wicker furniture. Can we like agree on that? Now we've established expectations. You're saying, okay, I'll come over. I'm tired like hell. But if I come over there, I do kind of want you to help me here. That's the difference. Everything doesn't have to have a tit for tat. But if this is what you're doing, now we don't have resentment. Right? And now you don't have a right to get upset about it because you've already said it. Period. And they don't have to love it, but they can get on board or not. Now, it's also a guilt form. That's right. It is a guilt form. It is guilt-based control. So there's this unconscious use of guilt. Now, it's not to harm others, but to ensure specific responses. This is how you're like, yeah, I already know. Like if I do this, they're going to give me this response. So you're going to use a little bit of a guilt base, but you're not doing it to necessarily harm, but you do want a specific, response. This is why people guilt trip. Guilt tripping is nothing but manipulation. Oh, well, I'd do this for you. After all I've done for you, oh my God, I can't believe you're going to treat me that way. Guilt, manipulation. That's what all of that is. So you have to kind of see how those things go together. And it's unconscious. It's not always like a conscious thing. That's what I'm saying. Everything I did for you, can't do this one thing for me. You can't do this one thing for me. Now going back to the picture, you're tired. You went in, you centered 4 pictures. You never said you wanted help. Now, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, now you're saying, hey, can you come over, help me move this wicker furniture? No, I'm so tired. And you're like, are you serious? Like you can't come over and just do this one thing, then go do whatever. That's manipulation. And you're doing that. Now, also recognize this if it's being done to you, because I'm talking to you about it from your perspective, but I promise you, you will experience this from other people. So you got to realize that, and you got to see it for what it is. So when you see it and you're aware of it, you're like, oh, I'm peeping what they're doing. I'm picking up what they're putting down. I see what's happening here. And that's where it becomes hard for you to take that accountability when it comes to this. But don't try to get somebody else to take accountability for it. Just know what it is and put a stop to it. Address it, address it head on, or just disconnect from it completely. Because sometimes you got to disconnect from people. But you got to be willing to do that. And then you can also hear something like, well, I just tried to help, but I guess I'll stop caring. There's no way you haven't heard that. Oh, I was just trying to help. I just want what's best for you. And sometimes when you're a people pleaser, you'll say the same thing. Often the other way around, it's also somebody who's entitled and they want you to do what they want you to do. And it's coming from a place of hurt, but you're trying to control others' reactions and thoughts through guilt. It becomes a big problem. So if there's an attempt to control emotional outcomes, right? If you're afraid to address it and you're trying to control the emotional outcome, that's exactly what it is. If you hear my cat, he wants me to play fetch. But I'm not going to play fetch for a second. Literally, we play fetch and he gets upset. So if you hear him meowing, that's what that is. And people pleasing is also avoidance of expressing your needs directly. So now you're just going to assume that, you know what, they should know. They should know. Right? And you're also avoiding it to not have that discomfort. You have a fear of conflict, fear of rejection. So then you'll turn around and you're going to rely on passive aggression. So those are your indirect needs and over-explaining. Because if you over-explain, then they're going to see it. They're going to approve it. They're going to this is what I'm going to do. And this is why you have a fear of expressing your needs too. So it's easier to be passive aggressive because if you express your needs, oh my God, what if they don't like you? What if they reject you? So you got to see where it comes. We know the why. We know why you're doing it, as we discussed earlier, right? So it's not a judgment. We know why you're doing it. So now know this is how you're going to break free from it because you got to own your stuff. So instead of saying something like, I don't want to go, because that's plenty. I don't want to go, period. You might fake enthusiasm and then feel resentful. Like I said, I don't want to go, but now you've gone to archery. Now you're annoyed because you went to archery, but you did that to yourself. And instead of setting a boundary, you're expecting other people to just know what the hell you need and want. Then you're mad at them. Now you're pissed off that they didn't do or say what you wanted them to do, but you never said it because you were afraid that they couldn't do it. That's why you say it. I always tell people if you're in the dating world, don't wait till date 6 months down to say, oh, well, I really don't want to get married or you know what? I really don't like that. Remember when we went, I really don't like that because now you're afraid that they're going to leave. But now that's you being kind of an ass because you should have level set that from the get. You got to tell somebody what it is that you like instead of worrying about them leaving. So now you're going to change who you are. It's like moving across the states because you don't really want to lose somebody, but you know what? You really don't want to go. So now you've moved. Now it's not working out. Now you're throwing all of that up to somebody and saying, well, I did this for you. This is where the problem comes. So that's instead of setting that boundary. They're just supposed to know what you need. Now, why does this backfire? Because I promise you it will. People pleasing creates resentment every single time. It's exhausting and it's the hope of earning that approval. That is going to backfire on you because it's not going to be enough or you're going to feel like a victim to the fact that they always take you for granted. They don't always take you for granted. You keep giving, right? Somebody can only take what you give them, right? They can't take what isn't available, right? You can't breathe oxygen if it doesn't exist. And that's what you got to understand. And that's why it backfires. When people also fail to reciprocate, right, you're going to feel, like I was saying, unappreciative, drained, or victimized. They did this. They took me for granted. You kept giving. Listen, the first time you might not know. First time that you might not know. You're like, well, damn. The second, third, and fourth time, people pleaser wants them to get it, right? Not even that. The insecure person, the person who wants it to fall in love with hope, you want them to get it. You want them to see it because you know what? This time will be different. If I explain it this way, they'll see my perspective. No, people are largely committed to misunderstanding you. Largely. So when they're failing to reciprocate, somehow it's them, not you. Now, you got to understand that there's ways that you can break through. I promise you there are ways. And again, we're going to go real in depth over on Patreon with the worksheet. Like I like to go through it. However, I want to also give you some tools here. You can break free when you're rewiring your behavior and shifting that mindset. Number one, recognize when you're doing it. Because again, it could be automatic. I want you to recognize when you're doing it. And then ask yourself this question. Very important for awareness. Am I doing this because I actually want to? Or am I doing it because I'm afraid what will happen if I don't? Really think about that. Am I doing it because I want to? Am I going to the house to put those paintings up because I want to? Am I? Or am I doing it because, what if they don't like me? What if they're mad? What if I disappoint them? If you're aware of it, now you understand it. You go, oh my God, I am doing this. Wait, why am I doing this? Am I afraid? Am I afraid of disappointing somebody? Am I afraid of not meeting their expectations? Like, what the hell? Am I saying yes to avoid feelings of guilt? Like, I don't want to say no. I'm going to feel guilty. Rather than because it's right for me, right? If it isn't right for you, then guess what? Then don't do it. That's the difference. That's the difference right there. But you know what? You have to understand and say, do I deserve to put myself as a priority? And the answer to that question is yes. So if you're changing yourself and you're changing different things that you want to do and you would, listen, I understand life is a little bit of a sacrifice too, right? It's not all about you. But if you're sacrificing your peace, that's a problem. And if you're doing it because you're like, well, if I don't do it, they're going to be upset. Well, let them be upset. Let them be upset. The problem that you have is that you don't want people to be upset. Well, guess what's going to happen? You're going to continuously people please. And if that's where you are, that's where you're going to stay. So you have to maintain that and you have to be well aware that you're doing it. And then again, you're saying, am I doing it for the right reasons or am I not? Am I doing it to garner something from them, like them approving me? Am I doing it because I'm avoiding some level of them getting upset and then me feeling guilty by it? And always remember, right? People mostly know your patterns. And people as humans, as in the human brain, most people want what they want when they want it. So they're going to do whatever they need to try to get it. And that goes into heavy manipulation. And that has nothing to do with people pleasing. That just goes in general. Well, it does, but it's not just people pleasing. So say, am I saying yes? Am I saying yes to avoid feeling guilty? Or am I doing it because it's right for me? Am I shaping my response to make someone else comfortable, even at my own expense? Now, are you shaping your response and you're going to preface that by going, hey, I would love to, but you know what? I can't because I worked a lot this week and I just want to go home and have a glass of wine and put my feet up. Oh my God, why did we go through that entire storyline of your life? No, I'm not going to be able to make it this weekend. Period. So if you're afraid of the conflict, you're afraid of rejection, now you know why you're doing it. So that's helpful because when you know why you're doing it, now you can shift it. Now you can change that. That's the difference. That gives you that joy of saying, I'm aware of it. When you have self-awareness, oh my God, you're like unstoppable. And you got to build your tolerance for discomfort. You've got to get to a place where discomfort is your best friend. Because here's the reality in life. Everything that is good happens in the unknown. Everything in the unknown, 100,000% works out perfectly every single time. It doesn't always work out the way you want it to. It can work out as a disaster, and it is a lesson. But you sitting there and worrying about it and being afraid of discomfort will never give you growth. You're going to stay stuck in a little box. And that's where you have to say, okay, well, I'm always trying to please my mother. And now you're 75 and you're still like, I can't please my mother. Well, that's been on you for years. That's a you issue because you didn't address these deeper roots as to the people pleasing. You have that capability. This isn't something you have to live with. Just be aware of it. Be aware and say, maybe, listen, sometimes it's a harsh reality. Maybe these people that I want to be different, that I want in my life, especially family, maybe they're not good for me. Go ahead and mourn that briefly, but that's okay. Because you don't want people who are not going to encourage your growth, who are not going to respect what your boundaries are, who don't understand what you're doing, so it has to be wrong. You don't want those people in your life. Why the hell would you try to please them? Because you're trying to make it make sense to have your value, right? I'm valuable if I don't hurt people. I'm valuable if I try my best, even if it doesn't work out. I'm valuable when they say thank you. See, you're attaching too much value. That's the problem. And one reason why people pleasers struggle to say no is because they hate feeling like they let people down. But guess what? That discomfort won't kill you. That discomfort will not kill you. It's just a momentary emotional response to your brain's exaggeration. Your brain is exaggerating it. Your brain is what's lying to you. Your brain is what's telling you that, oh my God, if I say no, right? If I say no, then I'm going to feel uncomfortable with my guilt. Well, good. Feel it. Because the more you avoid discomfort, the more you're going to run from it. The more you run from discomfort, the less you're going to grow and the more you're going to stay stuck. Just a fact, right? And the more you sit in that discomfort of saying no, the weaker it becomes. This is why, and I know I've told you guys this before, especially with my clients, I love to trigger you. Damn skippy I do, especially when you're my client. Why, you ask? Why would I like to trigger you? Well, because here's the thing. Triggers are your inner child. Triggers are what your inner child has been avoiding, the discomfort in that. And when I say trigger you, I'm not just going to pick your arm, right? I want you to feel uncomfortable. I need you to feel uncomfortable. And the more you feel uncomfortable, the less uncomfortable it gets. So you got to remember, avoiding your triggers isn't doing you a solid. It's neglecting your inner child. So when you have that understanding, it's going to be a hell of a lot easier for you to start to adapt and to adjust. And that is where you have to understand that you can get there. But are you willing? Right? You could be listening to this and go, yeah, I'm willing. Are you? Get very clear. You're going to be very uncomfortable. I will tell you what I tell my clients every first time I meet you. The same people who start on your journey may not end up in your journey. And most of the times, a lot of them don't. Are you willing to distance from relationships? Are you willing to distance from the idea of how you want it to be? Are you willing to do that? And don't say yes because you're all up in it while you're listening to this right now. Really think on it and say, am I? Because that might mean you're going to have to be alone for a while. That's going to mean you might have a smear campaign. That's going to mean you're going to be called selfish and rude. That's going to mean that people are going to be passive aggressive. That's going to mean that the moment you stop people pleasing and you lose, quote unquote, lose people, which are not losing people, they need to be gone. That's when the growth starts. But are you willing to be uncomfortable? Because if you're not willing to be uncomfortable, you could listen to everything, affirmations, gratitude journals, and it's going to be okay, but it's not going to be effective in changing. Because you got to stop falling in love with an idea. You've heard this, if someone shows you who they are, believe them. Stop trying to lie to yourself and say, I can change them, right? I can fix that. I can demonstrate things. I can show them, the way. No. So be aware if you're a people pleaser. Know why. See it for what it is. Be aware of it because it's become automatic. So if it's automatic, you're not going to know how, you know what I mean? Like you're not going to know that you're necessarily doing it. So when you bring awareness to it, now you can correct it. Now you can change it. And that's how you can work through people pleasing. You can do this. Start now and start for yourself. Check it out.